All right, it's another COFOH Live Undead, and we are broadcasting in the mid-afternoon because the nighttime scares me. This is COFOH Live Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crosier, and I am joined by the amazing Leila Del Duca. But first, something on my face. Leila, how are you?
That was an amazing intro. I loved the paintball. I mean, what was that? A can of no, not paint. What was it? The stuff that was.
Oh, it was water soluble. Paint, water. It's stuff it's easy to wash off. And
it's all in your mouth.
Got it in my mouth. Got glitter in my mouth. I'm sure I got something stuck under my eyelid. So, but I do it for the art.
That was great. I loved it.
Thanks. Yeah. No. I love to splish splash and anything with fake blood. So it's fun. We keep it interesting. But Leila, you keep it interesting. I met you. It's been over 10 years.
Yeah, it's definitely been over 10 years.
Yeah, and you are an amazing illustrator. You were amazing then, and tell us a little bit about your life, how you grew up and got into comics and became an amazing talent.
Sure. Yeah, I do want to start off by letting everyone know that you are actually one of the first people that I collaborated on comics with on some pig.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did 5 pages to your script with that. And I think we tried pitching it around somewhere. I can't remember. But yeah, that was like some of my earliest work. And I had a great time working with you. And yeah, it was really cool.
You.
So, but anyways, what were you saying?
Oh, no, thank you. That was fun. I think I even had you illustrating on wood.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Because I drew something that you later burned into the wood that I sketched on, right?
Yeah. I can't remember if it was a cover image, but it was something to do with that story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anyways, hi, everyone. I'm Leila. Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Sure.
I'll just hold up the books I've worked on.
Yes.
Shutter is probably the book I would say that got my name on the comic book map. Like, people didn't know who I was before that. And then I started working on a bunch of image titles. So like Shutter was like a 30-issue book. And then after that I drew Sleepless. And during all of that I wrote this comic called Afar, drawn by Kit Seaton. And more recently I've been working more work for hire stuff. I did a young adult graphic novel called Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed. I have 2 issues in the Wonder Woman Future State, written by Dan Waters. And then my newest series is at Dark Horse Comics called The House of Lost Horizons, which is a book that takes place in the Mignolaverse. It takes place before Hellboy even comes onto the scene, but it's a cool like murder mystery set in a mansion, like closed door mystery, something supernatural, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. We've got a friend coming on that wanted to say hi.
Oh, Melissa, hi. She's one of my ex-roommates.
Oh, cool. That's
cool. Oh my gosh, you look awesome in your picture. Melissa's an amazing seamstress, and she's made a couple articles of clothing for me that have all been amazing.
Oh, nice. That's pretty sweet. So, in a nice small world. That's the nice thing about like these type of platforms. You never know who's gonna, pop up.
Yeah, that's
But
so cool. Thanks for watching, Melissa.
so that's cool. So, how when I met you, I mean, you were working on your portfolio and collaborating with not just me, but a number of other artists and stuff. I think you also worked a little bit with like Fried Comics or something, or did a cover or something, I think.
Yeah, gosh, what did I do for them? I don't remember. I remember the name, but I don't remember that. I think also around that time, I started working on Escape from Terra, which was a web comic, and
Right.
Colorado man, Lee Weeks, he was drawing it. Yeah, and so I started inking for him, did some colors as well, and then eventually I transferred over to doing pencils and inks and colors, and then eventually I think I transcribed one of the author's short stories, and so I was like doing script to end product thing too with that. Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty cool. What was for you, what was the segue from doing that to jumping into Shudder?
Ooh, well, I guess the segue, everyone knows it's a struggle getting into comics, and
Right.
Escape from Terra, the webcomic, was just like one of those like projects along the way where it wasn't super popular, it wasn't high paid. So I had a bunch of those kind of projects come my way where I was like basically underpaid, or I didn't get enough of that work. So I was working service industry jobs at the same time as just trying to struggle to get into comics. Mm-hmm. And I got so poor and fed up with the struggle in Denver that I ended up moving back up to Montana, where the living cost was cheaper. Yeah. And so I was in Montana working on another comic that was also incredibly underpaid. And I decided to go to New York City Comic Con again for the last time. And the only reason I was able to afford New York City Comic Con is because my friend Amy Reeder let me stay at her apartment. So I could afford to go. And then the last time I went to New York City Comic Con, I was like, it's this or I have to find a different career path. And so, but that was the convention that I met Joe Keating, the guy who wrote Shudder. And he already had an in at Image Comics, essentially. So it was just like, we emailed back and forth, and like 6 months to a year after I met him at that convention, we started working on that book together, and then my career took off.
Awesome. Congrats. That's great.
Thank you.
That's so cool. And from there, you've been able to, also, illustrate, Shudder, but you've also had your own stories that you were, working on writing. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I had stories jumping around in my head a little bit, and then Afar kind of came out of this place where, how do I explain this? So like Shudder's kind of like this adult version with a lot of cussing, and but it's also very imaginative, and like it's a universe where anything goes. And I kind of wanted to do a more like family friendly, a young adult version of that, where it's a really highly imaginative world with lots of different environments and people. And so I came up with the idea of Afar, which is about Fatema, who starts astrally projecting in her sleep to other planets. And so I thought that would like have a lot of opportunities for cool things to happen. So I wrote that during drawing a Shudder as a monthly comic. So it was very work intensive, and
yeah.
I'm sorry. Can you hear my dog again?
A little bit. Yeah. It's like, it kind of sounds like, it's like, oh great, who's underneath your floorboards?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Samson. My house isn't haunted.
Nice. Yeah. Samson's the Saint Bernard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, those are huge dogs. Did you get them during your stay in Montana?
No, well, I gotta say, he is on the small side for a Saint Bernard. He's 95 pounds. But we only got him a few months ago. Like we've had him for 6 months. We were fostering him, and then it quickly turned into an adoption situation.
Dogs melt your heart, man. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, totally.
That's cool. Well, I'm sure he's a great studio assistant.
Oh, he is. He's really not a hyper dog at all. He just sleeps most of the time, and wants tummy rubs here and there. So,
Oh, that's a good trade-off, right?
yeah.
That's so cool. The with writing Afar, and then how did Sleepless come about too?
Oh, so Sleepless came about because Sarah Vaughn and I were on the same panel at a comic book convention, and just talking to her, I was like, wow, she's so cool. And she's like super passionate about romance comics. This is cool. Nice. And also there wasn't very much romance in Shudder. So I was like, I want to draw romance too. Like, that sounds great. So I asked her if she'd ever want to collaborate, and she said, absolutely. So as soon as Sleepless was over, we started, as soon as Shudder was over, yeah. We started doing Sleepless together, which is a 2-volume story. And it's a romance kind of set in this fantasy realm where there's like low-key magic.
Okay.
And it's called Sleepless because there's a faction of knights that are sleepless knights. They're under a spell where they never sleep so they can better protect the people they're sworn to protect. And so it's a love story between a sleepless knight and Poppy, the royal lady that he is sworn to protect. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds pretty sweet. It seems like romance comics is not really a genre that you really see in American comics these days. You see all these other different genres popping up, specifically in independent comics and stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's something that I myself hadn't really thought about until you just brought it up. But I remember like in the 1950s and 1960s and 50s and earlier. I mean, that was a genre in comics and in pulp magazines that you did, along with all the other genres of like westerns and pulp and noir and stuff like that, and crime stories, as well as horror and everything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that seems like something that's been just completely overshadowed by, the like superheroes, because even like I think Marvel and Timely were producing some of those romance books as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any idea what kind of killed the romance novel market when it comes to comics?
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, you think it's really just superheroes?
Yeah, I think like with them, and there's a lot of people out there that would know better than I do, but my perception is, once Stan Lee had that success with Marvel, Timely just kind of became Marvel and started producing more of the superhero stuff, because that was the thing that was selling in the 60s, and they were seeing what DC was doing, and they still had their superhero stuff going and everything. DC also had a bunch of other stuff, and then you had all these other smaller publishers that were still doing all these different genre things too. And but yeah, romance is just something in comics, like, oh yeah, I've never really thought about that. Now you can do, especially with independent comics, you can do all these wonderful different stories of any type of genre, or most of them are just great cross blends of genres, or slice of life. I mean, it's so prominent. So it's amazing to, I'm happy to see that you dipped your toe into that world.
Yeah, so. I am too. Gotta say though, because there's not really a market for it or like a desire for it, it wasn't a very financially successful series whatsoever. But I mean, all of my creator-owned books haven't been like a massive financial success. And like Sleepless definitely was probably the least financially successful because it's a romance one.
Right. Well, I mean, it's got to be. Yeah, I think too. That's a tough one for the comic book industry because it's so rarely done. Up until many decades ago, right? So it had its audience, but now it's just trying to find that audience because romance novels are still huge.
Yeah.
That's what that is, just with pictures,
Yeah, exactly. And romance manga is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you've got that Japanese and South Korean. Yeah, if you go to webtoons too, I mean, like you just mentioned, romance manga is massive there, and it's perfect for the scrolling romantic,
Yeah, totally.
So that's pretty cool. So yeah, well, kudos to you for dipping your toe into that.
Thank you.
I would say put it on webtoons. It'll find its audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think Image still has a contract with Comixology. I don't know if we could put it on webtoons, but I mean, it's a good thing to look into. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Comixology is the American standard. So I wonder if you have international rights to that. But that would be a good thing for Image to look into. If I'd imagine they already have, but because they're usually on the pulse of it. But yeah, that's something that I really like about webtoons and Comixology. It's like it's two different platforms. It's two different ways to deliver, and it's I think versatility and presentation is nowadays it seems to be really key because having stuff as floppies and it's not always it's the most costly but also not the most financially sound, I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've said too much. You really got to stop me sometimes. But let's talk about what you're working on right now. I know you guys were working on a Kickstarter and stuff, and you sent over some art for, what was it, Afar 2, right?
Yes.
Can I share some of that?
Yeah, go ahead. So you can go to the Kickstarter and contribute to it because we have since canceled the project. And for the sake of education and those interested in knowing more about Kickstarter, I'll let you know what happened. So me and Kit Seaton started this Kickstarter campaign to fund the sequel to this book. And it started off really bad. We were asking for a lot of money, and the beginning of the campaign started off so poorly and had so little donations that it was very unlikely that we were going to make our goal. And after our suspicions were validated, I guess, by a couple of my comic book mentors, we decided to cancel the campaign and kind of rethink the whole strategy of this book. So they recommended that we break the book up into thirds, which I've already done. It actually works really nicely in thirds instead of me having to like rewrite anything. The pages numbers kind of fall in a nice like cliffhanger-ish in these thirds. So that was really nice and serendipitous. But so we're gonna break it up on thirds and basically do 3 separate, smaller Kickstarters with more realistic goals. Faster turnaround rate for donors. Instead of them having to wait like 2 years to get a book, they'll wait less than a year to get a book. And we'll have to ask for less money. And it'll be cool to also have like smaller, like 46 page, or actually it'll probably be more like 48 page graphic novellas, which is kind of adds to this nice like boutique comic thing that I think is really nice that happens through Kickstarter. You can kind of have control over that kind of thing. So we decided to stop it ahead of time to save me the stress and the time that goes into like just carrying on a Kickstarter, start from scratch, start it over. It'll at a later date. We'll probably launch it sometime in January.
Okay.
Just so I have a lot of time to prepare, a lot of time to finish this semester teaching, and yeah.
Nice. That's cool. The I mean, stuff like that can be tough, but yeah, that's a beautiful thing for a platform like Kickstarter or crowdfunding. You'll if you're able to learn from it, and also, ending it early, after identifying those things too. It's like now you're not, now you're not on the hook for
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
yeah, got some of the interior pages that that you sent to us too. I love the colors and the designs. Now, is Kit doing the artwork and you're doing the writing, or are you guys splitting up both chores, or how's this?
Yeah, so we are collaborating in a different way than we did with the first book. So I did all of the script, and then I did some character design suggestions that she built on, essentially. But I would say that all of these designs are like hers for sure. And then I did layouts, and I'm going to do layouts for the whole book because, and then she does pencils and inks on that. Then I come back in and flat it for her, and then she does colors and letters on top of that. So that's what our collaboration looks like in this book. And the reason we decided to do this is because she has contract work with other book companies right now. So she's essentially doing these pages for free, or we both are, until we get funding for this. So so any chance that I can help her speed the process along and make her life easier through this, I want to do that. So so far we've really loved working this way. I've had a great time laying out my own scripts. It kind of gives me a little bit more ownership, and like the jealousy I would have when I gave the first book script to Kit. I was like, Dash, she gets to draw this scene. So now I kind of get to draw this scene a little bit. And then she just like improves upon it. Like the background suggestions I made on these layouts are hers are way better than what I initially drew in the layouts. And like the expressions and details and body language and everything is just far cooler than what's in the layouts.
Nice. Oh, that's, I think this is really exciting. So I'm glad you guys are able to work together so seamlessly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys collaborated on the first Afar series. Do you find that you developed a little bit of a shorthand?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it also, I think our shorthand began when we went to the same art school, the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, so I think we have a little bit of a similar storytelling stuff or whatever going on. Like,
yeah.
So I think we already worked well, or like thought similarly enough so that it didn't feel hard to transfer into this kind of collaboration at all.
That's cool. But yeah, I'm a graduate of that too. Many years before you.
1925.
At least then, yeah, 1925. Yeah. So, but with that now, yeah, how far apart were you and Kit then?
So we didn't have any classes together, but we would see each other's artwork in the hallways, because even though we weren't having any overlapping classes, we went at the same time for like a year or two. Mm-hmm. And so I would always look at her work in the halls and be like, who is this kid seeing? Her stuff is so good. It's like the best thing on this wall. Who is this? And I finally met her, and then we became instant friends. Nice. She's just rad. And so we never, so that's kind of what happened. I think we only hung out at like drink and draws, or I think I subbed a class for her once or twice after we became friends. And then I got her the coloring job on the Pantheon project, which is another creator-owned series that I was part of. But I was always like really frustrated that an artist as amazing as her wasn't getting full-time work. Like she was teaching and then not getting any comic book work or whatever. So as soon as I could work with her, I was stoked for it. And I'm so glad that I got to snag her for Afar before everyone else snagged her as an artist.
That's cool. I'm glad that it ended up working out. But yeah, the kind of the struggles of being an artist, being a creative, trying to break into that field. I mean, it's absolutely, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I recently I've been thinking about that. It's just like, people, have this tendency. It's like, oh, well, if you're going to be an artist, you're going to be a starving artist. And so you better have something to fall back on. And then it's just like, what is everybody going to live for? Paying your bills, doing all the things, being an accountant, doing all that stuff. Yeah. And if you don't have some kind of culture or, in your life, because your entire world is designed and you owe it to creatives, to artists, to musicians, to engineers, to, craftspeople that really make your existence worth living.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
and then, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so you owe your existence to us.
That's so, yeah, it's so difficult, too, because it's not like a daily reminder of like, oh, our job is important too. Like I go through many days where I'm like, why am I drawing these stupid comics while there's forest fires raging south of my city? Like, why am I doing this creative thing when I should be like reforesting or like do some sort of conservation rehabilitative something so that like our planet stops dying at this level. And then every time I bitch about that, like I do have colleagues who are like, well, firefighters need to escape into something too. Like they can't just like live their lives through reality. And like one of the most beautiful things about art is that it's an escape from all of these stresses, and it can save lives, literally. If people are so depressed and they need something to take their mind off of shit, then hopefully they have a movie that really inspires them, or like a comic book that gives them 10 minutes of a break or something. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. That, it's that sense of culture that enriches them. It gives them the reason to do the thing that they do, to be that firefighter, to be that accountant, to, whatever the field might be. Otherwise, man, it's, I would hate to picture what that is,
Yeah, me too. Like during the pandemic, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have Netflix, or video games or something. I think I would have been far more depressed than I was.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. So thanks everyone who's a creative.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I mean, that's the same thing too. Is I delved into creative work and would have something streaming or music playing or whatever, and there were lows and highs during that time, and even with the fractured leg, lows and some highs and stuff, but because it's like crap. I already spent the last year pretty much at home. Now I got to spend a few more months at home, and then it looks like we're going to go back into another pandemic. So thanks, society.
Yeah, thanks so much, society.
It's like, geez, guys. So it is infuriating, but without that stuff there, it's it'd be so much more difficult. And there's people in way worse situations. Like look at Afghanistan right now. Oh my
God, the doom they must feel right now.
Yeah, it's unfathomable. But anyway, that's why you do what you do, to enrich our lives.
Yeah, I'll try to affirm that to myself every day.
That's right. Yeah. God damn it! I've got to enrich Dan's life, otherwise he's probably going to get really boring.
Yeah, that's true. Don't want Dan to become boring, though.
That would be frightening as hell.
It would be a sad world.
Leila, what are some of your big creative influences? Comics and also outside of comics.
Okay. Well, I kind of grew up being really inspired by like fantasy novels and the book illustrations that came along with them. And then later when I was going to college, there were illustrators like N.C. Wyeth and I'm forgetting all of them now. Like Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell and
amazing painters.
Totally. And then when I got more into comics and started educating myself more with those creators, my triad of inspiration people are Mike Mignola on Hellboy, or actually anything he's drawn. Mark Schultz, specifically Xenozoic Tales, or Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is the other title it went as. And then Sean Gordon Murphy was also a huge inspiration. So I loved Mignola's balance of black and white contrast in his work, and same with Sean Murphy. And I loved Sean Murphy's like sketchy sensibilities because when I looked at his stuff, it reminded me that I didn't have to be his like perfect line thing. Like, I don't have to be perfect with my lines, and it can still look really great sketchy. And then Mark Schultz is just a master draftsman. His page layouts are great. His contrast is also great. And he also had this nice mix between like crisp line work and then dry brush work. So all of that stuff really looked cool and seemed like it would be fun to draw. Yes. So those are my influences.
Man, that's cool. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you've been able to do some work in the Mignola verse, right? So, what was that experience like?
It was kind of anticlimactic. It was just like any other job, and it was. I'm trying not to complain about it.
No,
it wasn't a bad working experience, but it was weird. It's weird to work on work for hire books coming from a creator-owned background, because with all of my creator-owned series, we're talking almost on a daily basis and like lifting each other up and like just having really lively conversations and being inspired. And then with all of my work for hire projects, I've been talking to editors, not my teammates. Well, the editors are my teammates too, but I'm not bouncing ideas off of my like writer or colorist, that kind of thing. So it is a little bit more like cut and dry. So that's what that experience was like. I got the script. If I had any questions, I would ask the editors, and then I would draw it.
Okay.
The end.
Pretty straightforward, huh?
Yeah.
Well, does that allow you the room to like get things done on a quicker pace, or if you're not having talking, or or does it just does it just make you feel like a worker ant, I suppose?
I do feel more like a worker ant, which takes a little bit of the passion out of comics for me personally. Right. But at the same time, like there's always pros and cons about any project. Like I can bitch about probably all of my comics on some level, and I'm not going to do that, of course, in a public atmosphere. But I will say, like, some of the great pros of working on the House of Lost Horizon is that in the beginning of this book, like I was drawing it all traditionally. I was doing layouts and pencils in the computer, and then printing it out and inking it traditionally. And over the course of my career, my eyesight's gotten worse. My body has been affected. Like I have a little bit of carpal tunnel now. I tend to like hunch a lot when I'm drawing. I would just have bad posture and all this other stuff. So I finally got the technology to draw digitally. And finally, over the years, I'd had enough experience where I think after issue 2, I asked my team, like, hey, would you mind if I started drawing this or inking this digitally? Here's an example of what the inks would look like digitally. Would you be okay with this? And they said, yes, this looks totally great. Nice. So I'm like extremely thankful that they let me essentially test out my new digital art skills during the series. And I actually think those pages look better than the traditional art pages. So that was great. Like their support with that was awesome. And also the paycheck was amazing. It was the first, yeah, it was an amazing paycheck. It was the best paycheck I've ever gotten so far. I mean, up until that date.
Right. That's cool. Now I'm curious too. Like, what about your experience working on Wonder Woman? To me, that's like, oh, it's the dream job, right?
Yeah, it was. It was really a cool experience too. Like the worst thing that happened was trying to come up with a cover concept. I think I did like 30 sketches before DC was like, let's use this sketch from our in office artist. You just do your own take on this. And I was just like relieved at that point, because I think it was just hard to come up with a good solid plan. And then we just ended up doing this like massive close-up portrait with the wave superimposed on top of her. So and so I really love how the cover turned out now. But after that, everything was like smooth sailing. It was a really fun script to work on. Oh, cool. And my editors were great. I got paid really well and like on time. It was
nice.
Really great. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. But it sounds like, as far as the creative process, collaborating, where you have access to, to your creative partners, that's really the way to go.
Yeah, that is the funnest. It's also probably like the lowest paid ones. Like, like I said, my creator-owned books have made far less money than the work for hire books for me. So like, I think it's going to be a nice balance to have both in my life. Like, right. I want to work for DC and Marvel and Dark Horse so that I can actually make a living. And then I want to work for myself and with my own team, so I can feed that creative side where like everything is 100%, or like I have 100% control over it with my teammates, kind of thing.
Right. And with those, like financially, they might not be as rewarding, but that limitation, with collaborating with your partners, I mean, that's got to breed some amazing innovations, right? That normally you don't have a say in, doing the DC project or the Marvel project or the Dark Horse project or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Like so many cool things have come out of creator-owned comics, like just Robert Kirkman's series, like The Walking Dead, and then like the newest animated Invincible, like that stuff is great. And then there's other people or other teams that don't go to film, which is wonderful. Like Saga has been amazing. The Wicked and the Divine. Like there's so many cool creative series that you would not be able to get at any other company other than like a creator-owned company.
Right, most definitely. With that said, do you see something like Afar or Sleepless being translated into a different medium?
Totally. I absolutely think it could be translated really well. And if it ever does get picked up, I think one of the funnest things about these series is what a different creative team would do with the same concepts. Like, I'm not so married to these books that if someone tweaked aspects or changed it a lot, like I don't think I would be bummed out. Like the only thing I would be insistent about is like, don't whitewash it.
Right.
Don't whitewash my books, or just like don't gender wash my books, like that kind of thing. Because representation is really important. Other than that, like the core of the story concept interpreted differently with someone else, I think sounds really cool. And I do think that they would work well on film. I have a friend who asked if he could translate it into a play someday, which I think could work out really cool too. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that could be fun.
That would be really fun. You don't. I mean, I remember. I think the last like comics to like stage adaptation that I remember in the Indies comic stratosphere was the Too Much Coffee Man opera.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that happened.
Yeah. So Shannon Wheeler, I don't know if he was directly involved in it, but some folks put together like a kind of an opera or a musical. I've talked to him once before, and I think he said it was an opera, and I've seen still photos from it. I think it was from like the early 2000s or something. But
that's so rad. I love that.
Yeah. So it's amazing to see all this all these weird little things that pop up because of the influence of cool fucking comics.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about process too. Like when you get up in the morning and you go to work on like a new page, what's the first thing that you do?
Well, it depends on if I've thumbnailed out a page or not yet. I usually work in batches of like 20 to 22 pages, depending on a single issue or whatever. So if it's a monthly comic, I'll thumbnail the whole issue out first so that when I like go to start on the pages, I can ideally just draw and ink a page in a day, because that is a nice quantitative, like measured thing where I feel like I've achieved a thing today. I made X amount of dollars today. I can rest and relax now. And then, but if it's a graphic novel, I usually, I think with Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed, I was thumbnailing in batches of 30 and then doing art after that, and then kind of working that way so that we could send art to our colorist, Kelly Fitzpatrick, and she could work that way during the time. So yeah, a good day looks like I've already had my stuff thumbnailed out. I can pencil and ink a thing in a day and still just like deal with emails in the afternoon and putz around on social media here and there.
Nice. Well, that's pretty good. Now that you're teaching, and I think you mentioned before we went live that your first real experience teaching was online during the pandemic, and you're about to go into the classroom. What lessons do you think you can take from online and translate to in person?
Ooh, well, doing everything over Zoom really forced me to make PowerPoint presentations.
Oh, okay.
Or not PowerPoint, but like Google's version of PowerPoint,
Right.
And
was that Google Point?
Huh?
Is that
Google Point? I don't know. Maybe slides. It might be Google Slides.
Google Slides. Okay.
But yeah, it forced me to do those kinds of presentations, which therefore helped me figure out how to articulate things out loud, because it had been a very long time since I had to like describe how to do this technique out loud kind of stuff. So, and now this next semester, it's going to be taught in person. I still have those presentations that I can use for this next semester, and I still have the vocabulary for teaching that. And I think another thing I can take from digital to in person is that with this college, the PNCA, I always forget what it was, the Pacific College of Northern Arts, Northwestern Arts, something. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So the class I teach is 6 hours long, which is a horrifically long class, in my opinion. When I went to RemCAD, I only had like 3 hours of care in me until I was just burnt out and I didn't want to do anything. I needed a break. So one thing over Zoom I would do is I'd give them the information, assign the assignments, and then let them do whatever the hell they wanted to the rest of the day. And I think that's what I'm going to do in my class as well. I'm not going to make them stay in their room. Like if they want to go and like come back for a check-in at the end of the day, like that's okay. But I don't want to micromanage. And something that Zoom allows is like, it allowed me to not micromanage, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. When I was at Rocky Mountain, we did have all day classes, especially in those foundation studio classes. But yeah, you could come and go as needed. As long as the work was getting done, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the important part.
Yeah,
they do the work, and they did.
Yeah, that's cool. We would come back and we would be a little sloshed, but but that made the class more interesting, I thought. I later learned no, that was not the case. But those were in the days where I was drinking, so yeah. Those are many decades behind me. Back in the 1920s, Prohibition.
Yeah, I think I was only of the legal drinking age, like the last 2 semesters I went to RemCAD. And I don't think it even occurred to me to like take a drink break.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah. This was so long ago that Rimcad was on Evans and Oneida.
Oh.
And so it was the two buildings across the street from each other, but just a couple buildings down was a bar. And they also had, they had a kitchen, so they had lunch and everything too. So I would go there with some of the instructors. And I would have a few, and then come back and it's like, wow, I'm drawing really good now. Look at that.
And your instructor's like, yeah, that's the best thing a student's ever done.
Yeah, and then wake up the next day. Why did I do that? Look at what I created. It's like, oh my god, I didn't even put it on the paper. I think I got a little bit of it on me and on the floor. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah. No, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I definitely can't do work when I drink or have weed in my system. It's just like, this doesn't equate to work time. This is having fun or relaxing time. Yeah. So definitely can't do it. Though I'm jealous of my friend Tony, who also draws comics, and he basically only works when he smokes because it helps him focus. And I wish I had a magic thing to help me focus more instead of get distracted.
Yeah, I think for me, it's I've got to put on music and I get more done. And nice. Then coffee.
Coffee.
That's it. If I have too much, though, I feel bad for anybody who's around me. My poor girlfriend. Just I'm gonna go to the other end of the house and get shit done. So you just just move around like a dying fish or something.
Nice.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. What after Afar after teaching, what's next on the horizon for you?
Well, I'm waiting on script for a DC series.
Ooh, cool.
So but it's kind of like I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing, because it has been postponed so long. I'm just paranoid that it won't happen. Oh, actually, I can tell you what it is, because my name's on the book, on the cover of this.
Oh, did they already announce it?
Yeah, it's I'm going to be a fill-in artist for Joelle Jones's run on the Yara Flor Wonder Girl, which is a character she created. Yeah. She actually created it in the shared studio that we had before COVID times shut it down. So it was so cool to see her create this character from scratch and hear a little bit about the process. And I can't wait to start drawing it. I think it'll be so much fun, and especially, I don't know, it'll be cool to draw from her script, I think. So that hopefully happens. And then after that, for creator-owned stuff, I want to finally create, write, and draw my own series so that I can be a solo artist on something. So I'm in the process of writing, or outlining, I should say. I can't get to the writing yet, but I'm outlining a story right now for myself that I can hopefully also kickstart. And then maybe, I don't know, find a bartending gig on the side or something like that.
Oh dear. Oh wow. Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's I suffered from a lot of burnout recently in my career, so I think it's kind of a good thing. Other activities I can do that take me away from comics, so that I can just still recover from the burnout, have life experience doing something else, and then maybe do something that reminds me of why I'm doing comics, because everyone's like, bartending sucks. So I'm sure if I work in the service industry for long enough, I'll want to get the hell out again.
Well, that might bring a nice balance too.
Yeah.
Where you're able to, kind of socialize, because, comics, like you mentioned, the studio thing, before, COVID shut everything down. And, what a great way to kind of socialize and be amongst other artists that inspire you and stuff. But if you can't do that, it's like, yeah, that makes total sense. I get it, going out into the real world, where you're not stuck at home, isolated, drawing comics all the time, and not being able to connect with, other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, Leila, it was absolutely, fantastic to be able to reconnect with you and chat with you and talk, kind of wax creative and all that.
Yeah. Likewise, it's been so nice to catch up with you.
Yeah, it's been a while. So hopefully we can do this again. And I can't wait to see Afar 2, come out in on Kickstarter so that I can drive people to support you and Kit and your works and of course the Wonder Girl, right, from DC. Can't wait for that series and your issue. I mean, the work that there's so many amazing women in this industry, and we really do need to elevate them, because there's just, I mean, that's where the so much talent is right now, and so much new perspectives on fantastic storytelling, romance books. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, definitely need more of that. And there is an audience out there. They just don't know it yet.
I agree. Yeah. So the horror festival,
yes,
is that something people can watch online, or is it an in-person thing in Denver only?
This year it is in person. We do have, so for everybody watching, all zillions of you, it's Colorado Festival of Horror. You can visit cofohorror.com. You can see more of these episodes on there or on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. And so that's where a lot of the virtual stuff is. Obviously, during COVID, we were supposed to have our first, in-person event. That got shut down. So I just translated most of that into interviews online, and have been doing it for since 2019. So it went from in-person interviews to now online. Now I'm trapped in this box.
You can't get out. Oh.
Somebody just sent a comment. Brad says, "Hey, Brad here." Well, hi, Brad.
Hi, Brad.
You're a little late to the conversation, buddy. But yeah, with that, it's going to be in person. It's September 10th through the 12th at the Embassy Suites by Hilton on Havana and I-70. So go to cofohorror.com for your tickets. And I'm still working on panels. Brad, incidentally, is one of my collaborators on that stuff. Nice. So yeah, he's probably like, "Hey, why don't you work it?" Another job. But yeah, so we'll be doing that, and right now it's nuts. I have brain fog, and
you can do it.
Yeah, well,
we can get through it.
Well, I worked with Charlie putting together Dink, that first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2016. Yeah, we had you as a guest one of the following years, and so yeah, that's fun. I think Charlie's back in town, but I think he's moving permanently to Italy. I don't know. So
wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
So, yeah, him and his wife have been over there for the better part of last year and a half, and
right.
Yeah, I think that might be the plan. So we'll see. So we'll see what happens if Dink comes back or not. But right now we're just focused on the Festival of Horror and doing that and making that spectacular and spooky. Because God damn it, we need more spooky in Denver.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but Leila, people can follow you at leiladelduca.com and on Twitter.
Or I think it might be leiladelduca.net.
Oh, is it .net? Oh,
geez. I think so. Because
no worries.
Yep, yes, leiladelduca.net.
.net. Okay, let me edit that real quick. It's shoot.
Whoops. I mean, I should have noticed that from the beginning.
That's all right. We got okay. So now it's leiladelduca.net, and go follow her, go purchase her wares on her website. And
purchase books, please.
What's that?
I said, purchase books, please.
There you go. May I have some more, please? Oh, look, he's eating the readings.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dan. I wish that we were in person so I could hug you.
Oh, that's sweet. Yes. Well, one of these years.
Yeah.
So stick around for a few minutes after we sign off.
Okay.
But to everybody that that tuned in, thanks so much for all your support, and to my sponsors, Hellfire Entertainment, for rebroadcasting this on your social media, Groovy TV, if that logo will pop up, there it is. Unfortunately, we lost Groovy last year, but we carry on in its stead. And of course, our friends at Mutiny Cafe. If you're going to start a revolution, make sure you're caffeinated, as clearly I am. And then, of course, Alien Donut Films, Bill and Angela over there. Thanks for all your support. My producers, Stefan Santa Cruz and Amanda Armstrong. Thanks for putting up with my shenanigans. And, remember to take care of each other during these tough times. And we love you. Have a good night.